Coming up on Lyssa and Lyssa.
Let me try harder. I must need to step it up. I need to show more reciprocation in his direction. Okay, got it. No problem. I can correct that. I can take that feedback and I can do better. And then I would step it up. And I would try harder. Do you think that was good enough? Do you think that that solved all the problems? And he was, because he was probably right about that. And then if I just stepped it up, it would solve the problem, right? Do you think it did? No, it didn't. No matter what I did. Ever. You know how this goes. So sad.
Hey! Listen!
Hey. Welcome back to Lyssa and Lyssa. I'm your host, Alyssa. I'm going to keep it short on the intro because I'm going through a series right now of all of the red flags that it's easy to overlook in the beginning, but will bite you in the you-know-who and the you-know-what on your way out of that toxic trap of a relationship that you find yourself in years later, that you're like, why the heck? Why am I still here? I know that many people have probably been in that situation because I have been in that situation, so it's one of the most painful things that I've ever experienced, and I don't want other people to have to go through that. If I can provide any bit of the wisdom I've gained the hard way, I would like to do so. So, I compiled a list of about, give or take, 20 different red flags that I think are ones that are easy to miss in the beginning, but will turn into a nasty beast in the end if you don't address them head on. And I also want to really pinpoint at the end of that. The last episode is going to be pinpointing exactly what mistake I was making that led me into that trap, and how to address these red flags in a very different way, in a very specific manner, so that that doesn't happen to you. And that you'll be able to vet out the people that you're not supposed to get into a relationship that long with anyway, and really keep close and draw in the people that you are meant to be with. Okay? So, if you notice some inconsistencies in the first episode, it's because I was going to put it all in one video, all 5 of them, and I was going to do 5 at a time, but I need to go into depth. So, and I don't want to make these videos super long. This one will be a little bit longer, but I'm going to do one red flag per video instead. Okay? So that's what we're doing now. The first episode was the first red flag, which was passive-aggressive behavior. Check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And this is going to be red flag number 2. Okay? So if everybody's ready and you're with me, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right, moving right along. Number 2, a sudden cease of thoughtful or polite gestures. Some relationships can captivate us because we have been treated pretty poorly in the past, maybe. Someone just being simply thoughtful and seeming to just even, consider us can seem like a monumental gesture to some people. I know that was the case for me, that position. So if you're going around where you've been mistreated a lot by other people, and then someone treats you even just baseline decently, that's going to look like the world to you. It did. The main danger about that, operating from that space in dating, is that it can make you quite susceptible to people who are not actually the person that they present initially. You're going to be much more vulnerable to falling for that. Right? Don't get me wrong, pretty much all people across the board are on their best behavior at the beginning of dating. Because why? I mean, you haven't had time to have any arguments about anything. You haven't lived life together. You haven't faced the challenges of everyday life, of living together. There's nothing that you need to be upset about. You don't even know each other. You don't have built up resentments. You don't have pain that you had to get over that this person caused. You don't have to do anything that's hard. So of course it's going to be all smiles, and you're going to be able to put your best self forward because there's nothing hindering you at that point. It's going to be pretty natural that the relationship starts out with effortless kindness, effortless gestures. It seems like a natural and organic pull to want to spend time together. Constant contact, constantly wanting to see each other, grand gestures, maybe constantly texting throughout the day, having a lot of time for that. Driving back and forth, not feeling like that's too much to ask. You're just more than willing to do everything. That's natural. That's that honeymoon phase. And in all relationships, it's inevitably going to be that trickle back down effect that happens when you have to acclimate back to regular everyday life and snap back into reality. So that could kind of feel like this, but just don't confuse that, because that's going to happen in any relationship. You can't sustain that level of this whirlwind romance forever. You would never get anywhere with a job. You would never get anywhere in anything. You would just literally live underneath this person or next to them. You have to come back to reality eventually. It's very natural to have things feel very exciting and feel those butterflies in the beginning of meeting somebody. Don't be afraid of that. But there's a difference between like a healthy and still grounded level of this excitement and these butterflies and what we know to be called love bombing. All right. Now, don't mistake what love bombing is, because it's a frequently used term that is frequently used incorrectly. Okay, so people will say,
he love bombed me and then just fell off the face of the earth.
Well, if he disappeared out of your life after he so-called love bombed you, the then purpose for love bombing wasn't there. So what he did to you was not love bombing, okay? Because love bombing, the definition of it, includes with the purpose to manipulate and control and isolate somebody so that they can have them all to themselves, get them to depend on them by hooking them in with this grandiose show of affection and love. And then when they are hooked in and dependent on that person for whatever reason and pushed away from other outside sources, they will be at the mercy of this person and attached to them and thinking that they need this person. And then that person will be able to control and manipulate them into doing whatever they want and however they want to do it. So if someone shows you a lot of affection, seems really interested in you, is doing all these great things for you, and then they suddenly just ghost you, you were not love bombed. You were likely maybe used, and that doesn't feel good either. So these terms, you don't have to be love bombed to make your case for why something hurtful happened to you, but it's just not the correct term that you would use. So it's good to know what that is. Official Oxford Languages Dictionary, yes, this term is in the dictionary, definition of love bombing is, let's read it, the action or practice of lavishing someone with attention or affection, especially in order to influence or manipulate them. As I said, if it is love bombing, the end stage where they manipulate and control you is going to be predicated by some type of buy-in of some sort for the relationship to be attached. Some step will happen where it makes them feel that you are attached to them. And so this could be maybe you made it official. Maybe you moved on to a physical intimacy. Maybe introduced to family and friends very, very quickly and, welcomed into the family, taking big steps like that. Maybe you were in a financial bind and they offered to help you out of that completely. And then now you are kind of indebted to them big time. And there's no way for you to financially get out of that, realistically. So you are attached. There's nothing you could do. If they switched up on you at this moment, you're stuck. Even in the grandest of cases, there's people that maybe you move in with them right away. I know some people that have moved in within weeks. What? That's that's a little much. I'd be concerned about that. Or this person might propose to you within the first few weeks. They fell in love with you at first sight. And those are extreme cases, but whatever it is, once they feel confident that you're hooked on them in some way, the love bombing stage quickly devolves, overnight almost, into the devaluation stage. Now, you might have heard of some of these terms when talking about the pattern of a narcissist. This doesn't just apply to narcissists. This does apply to narcissists. This is typically how it goes with them. But there's such a wide range of different character disturbances which may not qualify for the diagnosis of NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. Doesn't make them any less harmful. It doesn't make them any less toxic. They just don't fit the criteria for official diagnosis for narcissistic personality disorder. They might exhibit a lot of the similar traits of a narcissist. That could be true. But our human nature to want to name something and put it in a category and be like, now I know what to call that. Because like once we can name it, we know what to do with it. And it's the scary thing until then. And we're just like, what the heck is this? This is ruining my life. Like, what is going on here? And we just feel like we want to make sense of it. And the way we want to make sense of it is like how our brain does. Our brain will like remember things that happened. And then everything from that point that we take in, it will, within seconds, it will, I don't even know, like maybe milliseconds, it will just assimilate whatever it sees, whatever it perceives into one of these boxes that we already have up there that fits best. So it'll be like, oh, that looks like this thing. So that must be this. That must mean this. That's how we interpret things so quickly in our subconscious mind. So that's why we want so badly to put a name to something, and we want to define what it is. And then we feel like we can better understand it. We know, oh, I know this term. Now I know what box to put that in. Now I know what direction to go to fix it. It's uncomfortable. We don't like it. It's causing us pain. We want to identify it and knock it out. But you don't need to get hung up on whether or not you know if someone's a narcissist or not. Like, are they a narcissist? No, we don't know, because everyday people like you and I, we aren't qualified healthcare professionals with the authority to diagnose. Even if you know 9 criteria for narcissistic personality disorder, even if you've read the criteria and the diagnosis and you understand the different stipulations, and you think that like based on that you can evaluate that this person is a narcissist, and you're like, I know it, they're a narcissist. Okay. 1, you're not going to convince them they are. 2, you saying that does not matter, honestly, because it doesn't make them a narcissist, because they can only be a narcissist if they have been diagnosed by a healthcare professional, a medical professional that put them through that test in a professional setting. It doesn't matter, because it simply doesn't matter. What matters is you focus on the behavior. You can say, this person does this thing, and then that is not acceptable to me, and it hurts me, and it causes problems between us, and it reduces the enjoyment of my life and goes against who I am as a person. That person's not willing to change that quality about themselves, and they keep doing it to me. So that person is toxic in my life, and they need to go. So who cares if they're a narcissist or not? That term is literally only useful for if the narcissist themselves wants to find out that they are a narcissist and wants to find out why their life is going the way that it's going all the time. You know, they recognize those patterns. And typically the nature of narcissism, that's not common. It does happen though. And it's actually increasing in commonality, which is really good news. There's more self-aware narcissists coming up. And I think it's just like with a lot of things, the remedy for something scary, something misunderstood, and something just that we don't know how to tackle, the remedy for that is knowledge and awareness. And so when you start spreading awareness about these things, which we know, narcissist has been one of the biggest words out there circulating the past few years. Everybody's a narcissist. Narcissism, love bombing, narcissism, you know, all of that. It's brought a huge awareness to the topic. And therefore, all the actual narcissists that are just like wreaking havoc everywhere and not having to care about it, they're a lot more under the microscope now. It's a lot more noticeable now because people know what it is. There's an awareness, which means that the narcissist now has to adapt their approach. And I think some self-aware narcissists, I mean, that's literally their game. I'm like, this is like, okay, I don't have any proof of this, so I'm just saying, this is my opinion. I think that a lot of them are doing it as part of their narcissism. They've just flipped it on its head, and like, I'm all for it. Because if you are on YouTube as a narcissist, claiming you are a self-aware narcissist and that you care about the victims of narcissistic abuse, and you're trying to help spread awareness for people who are abused by people who have what you have, and you know firsthand, and you want to correct your wrongs by helping now, I don't care if you're doing it for the wrong reasons at that point. It could be you wanting attention and you finding just that, like, that loophole, that roundabout way to still indulge in your narcissism. But like, if you're doing that for good instead of to hurt, you are a genius then. You just superseded any level of narcissism you ever had because you are the greatest. Like, that is amazing. I am all for that. And I think that as narcissism gains more and more awareness, I think that a lot of narcissists are going to find that to be their best path. Somehow take these traits that have been utilized in ways that hurt people and use it for good. So in some way make it useful. It can't be the answer for a long time was like, they don't change and they're just a lost cause. And I don't believe that about most people. I don't think that's true about a large group of people that are one way. No. And we've seen that's not true. There's just plenty of narcissists that have really dedicated to turning themselves around. So anyways, tangent. I'm so sorry. Like, had to be said. Okay, back to this. So whether it's a narcissist or not, if they love bomb you, you're going to swiftly go into a stage of the devaluation, which means they're going to start immediately hating everything you do, putting you down all the time, criticizing you constantly. They're going to be really cold. They're going to pull away. They're going to be really distant. They're going to blame it all on you. Ouch! The reason that love bombing works very well on a particularly vulnerable person is because you are so thrilled and captivated by that love bombing, like I said before. You had basically been so depleted of that prior. And like I said, if you're thirsty and dying of thirst in a desert prior to this person sailing in on a beautiful ice glacier to make your life better than ever before, you're going to see that person as a hero and you're going to be so happy to have a drink of that beautiful glacier. And you don't really think about if this person could be for real or where this glacier came from and why they're so eager to share it with you and why they've chosen you and why they think you're so special. They're so captivating because you didn't have to ask them for love. You didn't have to ask them for validation or praise. You didn't have to ask them for attention. They just came in and gave it to you. Something that has been hard to come by sometimes. And I'm not talking about just fleeting attention. I'm talking about the thing where you feel a spark with someone. They were just giving it to you so abundantly, just based on your innate qualifications of being just that amazing and that deserving of it. And they've just never been so immediately captivated by someone like they were with you. That's what they're going to be saying to you. And now, if you weren't being so gassed up and manipulated, you could step outside of the situation for even a moment and rationalize that while this Disney-themed fairy tale is very tempting and alluring, very tantalizing, it makes no logical sense. Really? Okay? And here's why. I am certain that you are all those things, that you are very amazing, that you are very captivating, that you are worth all those things, that you are the most amazing person. I believe that. The thing is that, like, they don't know you. They don't know that about you to be able to say that they can tell that they can see that they know that. So already right there, alarm bells should be going off, going, they're fabricating something to me right now. Factually. They don't actually know these things about me. They don't know me. So to say things like that at such an early stage is a concern. Like, it's a red flag because they don't know you and you do not know them. I know there's people that say, like, I'm a great judge of character right away. I can read people, or I know I believe love at first sight and all of that. Okay, like it, and that's what you believe. Maybe you did feel that spark and it was really strong in the beginning, but you still didn't actually know each other. Okay, I mean, so you can't technically be in love. Maybe it felt like love, and then just by you believing it was love. By you believing it was love, you put in the efforts to make it love. And then it grew to love. So it felt like it was always love. But from a logical standpoint, when you first come together with somebody, you do not know them. And it takes a long time to really know someone. You need to see them in different situations. You need to see them when they're angry. You need to see them when they're under a lot of pressure. You need to see them when you do something that they really don't like. You need to go through some things with them. And that's when you'll know who they really are. And that takes a while. That could take up to a year to really see multiple sides of somebody. You know, how are they when they go through a loss of something? How are they when things don't go their way? It's just, it takes a while to know somebody. So you can't say all these things in the first few days. It doesn't make any sense. In these situations, usually, you feel really excited and on top of the world and kind of like you can't almost catch your breath. And those butterflies are on a different level than you've ever felt them before. Also, what that could also be attributed to, and likely is, which is why on the back end of this, where you won't likely be very aware or paying attention to, there's a bit of unease, is because like something just doesn't feel quite right, because those butterflies being in excess, just like and like having a hard time catching your breath, it's also known as anxiety and stress. And this person is literally stressing your systems because your body is nearly screaming that this isn't really right. Something about this doesn't really feel right. That's your body alerting you, like, to pull back. Okay? And we think it's like,
I'm just like, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so nervous.
and then, okay. Slow down a little bit, okay? Just slow down. Okay? Slow down. Grab the wall. Okay? You need to brake. You need to brake pedal. Okay? Slow down. Love shouldn't feel like falling. Be smart about it. Love should be kind of more like a very comfortable, natural stroll with somebody by choice. Okay? So it doesn't need to be this whirlwind of a tumble downward into love. Sometimes that feeling that's in your gut, it's not always just like butterflies. If something feels a little off, pay attention to that. You might begin telling everyone you know about this person. You begin planning your future, letting down all your guards. Because you're feeling like, for whatever reason, this person just feels like I can trust them. This feels so real. This feels so good. Like, I just can't believe this is happening. I've never felt like this before. And you begin giving over very vulnerable and special parts of yourself. And that special part of you that is so sacred and to be treasured. You feel like, you know what? I'm gonna go all in. You have to take chances in life, and especially when it comes to love, why not? Right? And you just jump in with both feet. You might lay in bed at night and just feel so full of gratitude. Speaking to the universe or God or whatever you believe in, and just tears streaming down your face, and you're just like, thank you for this person. I remember doing this. I would sometimes, when I would be with him at night, I would just, after he was asleep, I would just stare at him.
Come again?
Like a creepy stalker. I would just stare over at him while he's sleeping, and I just thought he was the most magnificent, adorable person ever. And I would just think to myself, thank you for giving me him. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful I have him. And I used to whisper in his ear. I used to tell him, I love you so much. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. You're the best man I've ever known. And I would tell him I want to be with you forever. And I would tell him that in his sleep. I don't know if he ever found that out, but I don't think he ever heard me. But I used to do that a lot. When we got really bad, we would fight all day. When we would lay down and he would be asleep, I would still whisper that in his ear. It made me feel close to him, like at times when we weren't. But anyways, sorry. Okay, let's get back on track. Into sob stories. You might feel so blessed. You might feel so grateful. And you might wake up each day with an intense vigor and happiness to face the day. And you're just like,
everything is beautiful. I love being alive. Why don't people put a smile on their face? Everything is great. I just want to experience life. I just want to be alive. I want to be everywhere. Everything is good.
I'm literally talking about myself. This is what happened to me. I don't know. I think this is a shared experience. I think it's pretty shared, right? When you go through this? Yeah. So, you're freaking happy, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You're so ecstatic. You don't think you've ever felt this way. This happy. And as long as you can remember, everything feels right. You wouldn't want to be anyone else right now. And that is maybe rare for you. It feels so good. It feels so freaking good. Nothing feels as good as this. I don't think. So, when this person does a 180 on you, in the midst of that, it takes your brain, your emotions, some time to catch up. Because that is like, what just freaking happened to me right now? You're upside down at this point. That is crazy. It's literally sweeps the rug out from under you. It sweeps you off your feet in not a good way. So Your systems initially can't grasp what's happening. They have no idea what just happened. Your system is freaking out. It's like,
I don't know what's going on.
you just go down this downward spiral of confusion and desperation and just seeking for approval again, seeking to understand and to mend and to offer to fix whatever just broke, because you don't have any idea what just broke.
You're like, what happened? I don't know what happened.
Please tell me. And this sends you into a cognitive dissonance with attempting to recalibrate
This imbalance now that is in your brain between what you believed to be and what you are now seeing evidence of that does not fit that at all. It's complete opposite. Why is this person who is so loving, giving, your complete dream partner, why would they suddenly change to the complete opposite? That's not normal. This is sheer panic mode for your brain and your internal systems. It will lose track of everything else that should be important because it is going to be constantly like trying to recalibrate, because your brain is now outside of its normal function. Its basic function, as we learned from Dr. Bruce H. Lipton, PhD, stem cell biologist, best-selling author, and Goy Peace Award recipient. One of his quotes says, "The function of the mind is to create coherence between your beliefs and your reality." So whatever you believe is what you will see in your reality, right? Vice versa, like whatever's in your reality is going to need to reflect your beliefs. They have to go together. They have to match. Which is why your beliefs, what you believe in, is very important. Because it's going to manifest into your reality. It takes time for beliefs to be built. Very intense emotion, whether it be pain and sadness, which is more common, what happens in this situation when you're an adult that causes beliefs to change, or extreme elation, this very high level of elation and excitement and adrenaline and all of that, this intense emotion associated with this whirlwind love can program a belief. That these are the things: emotional, intense emotion and imagery and repetition is going to be what forms beliefs. So just because you are thinking something a few times, it's not going to create a belief. If you just go, I believe this, it's not going to create a belief. Okay, you got to have intense emotion behind it. What this person was doing up to this moment created a belief in you that they are trustworthy, that they are great, you can trust in them, they are everything that they've shown you, right? So then you believed that. So once you believe that, guess what? That belief is going to be solidified in there until an equally intense amount of emotion and repetition can reprogram it. So at this point, your belief is, this person loves me, is trustworthy, wants to be with me, wouldn't try to hurt me, all of that, right? So when they start doing things that look like the opposite of that, your brain goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. No. I know this to be true. That does not match that. So now I have to create a reason why that doesn't match that. Because my belief isn't going anywhere until I experience enough emotion in the other direction that's going to change that belief, which it will. It's going to take some time, though. But at first, no, that belief's not going anywhere. That belief is there. It's solidified in your head. They put it in there with that emotion and that repetition. So when you see this, you're going to go into a cognitive dissonance, which is going to force your brain to find a plausible explanation for why you're seeing something that is not reality. So it's going to explain away this person's behavior. And it's going to do this so strongly, with such force, that it can very easily fool you. It can very easily be overlooked by you, rationalized by you. This is what our brain is designed to do. People do it every day. Get familiar with cognitive dissonance, and if you can start realizing when you do it and recognizing when other people do it, it's really important, because people do this a lot. I do it. Everyone does. Like, you do it. Everyone does it. And it's kind of, I find it so fascinating that we really just kind of like lie to ourselves to make our beliefs true. And you can do it without even knowing. So you will likely be having a strong pull to do that in this situation. If you are prone to people pleasing, low self-esteem, self-sacrificing, and you've been in these types of relationships in childhood or early adulthood, it is far more likely that you will reobtain that balance by adopting the belief that you must be a problem. You must be the problem here. This great, wonderful person who loves you to death and thinks you're great, you must be causing them to act this way. You must have done something wrong. You must be overlooking something that you're doing. This is what your brain's going to start telling you. You must not be as kind and great as you think you are. Maybe you're missing something. Maybe your past relationships had you think you were better than what you really are. And now that you're with a good man, maybe you need to step it up. This is literally a thought I thought constantly. These are the real thoughts that my brain came up with, okay? I'm just sharing with you authentically. I really thought that at one point. I was like, maybe that's fine. Maybe since I was with someone who treated me so bad and that I thought I was just this great person, but maybe I'm like not really that great for the average person or the great man. I need to step my game up. God. So sad. So sad. The real kicker here and the real sinister S-bag part of this is that person is probably going to be all too obliged to suggest, imply, or in some cases flat out say that you're right about that and agree with you on that and verify that that is the case precisely. And everyone's thinking it and everyone's seeing it.
You're right. It is you. Glad you realized it. Do something about it now. I've been doing so much for you this entire relationship. Do you even plan on reciprocating? I thought you would know what reciprocation was, but I guess I have to explain it to you. People want to be nice to you, and that's all great, but you can't just take. You need to reciprocate sometimes. Bruh.
I would just be so taken aback because I would think, I'm reciprocating. I know I am, but I guess maybe not enough. And I would just question myself. And it's like the obvious is there. And I would see no, I definitely am reciprocating. And actually I'm probably putting in more work and more effort than them most times. And I would see that. But then they would tell me adamantly that is not true. And laugh at me. And just completely not agree. And because I just didn't have a strong enough belief in myself. And I also had this belief that they were a good person who loved me. I would go, okay, let me try harder. I must need to step it up. I need to show more reciprocation in his direction. Okay, got it. No problem. I can correct that. I can take that feedback and I can do better. And then I would step it up. And I would try harder. Do you think that was good enough? Do you think that that solved all the problems? And he was, because he was probably right about that. And then if I just stepped it up, it would solve the problem, right? Do you think it did? No, it didn't. No matter what I did. Ever. You know how this goes. So sad. They will be more than delighted to allow you to just stew in that downward spiral. Completely fall all over yourself. To correct this undetermined, undefined flaw and misstep you're making. And all these things you're doing wrong that they never clearly define. Right? And they're just gonna also simultaneously do everything to keep you attached at the same time. So they will let you embarrass yourself. They will let you cry and plead for an explanation and fall and fawn all over them. And they'll actually start to look at you kind of like you're pathetic. And they'll treat you worse when you're just trying to meet the need of what they said was the problem. They'll start to look down upon you. And then they'll act like you're maybe not very stable in your emotions. And they just start being incredibly mean and cruel to you. And you just don't even know how you got here. And you feel baffled. You feel so confused. And for some reason, your mind can't just accept, and go to, this is obviously BS. And, who the hell do you think you are? This tactic works so well. That's why it's manipulation. That's why it's used for control. If it didn't work well on vulnerable people, if it wasn't like that, then, this wouldn't be a tactic used. This is a very, very effective tactic. It works on a lot of people. So many people all the time get bamboozled by this. Okay? So don't get down on yourself. It only seems obvious when you're not in it. There are things happening in your brain and your internal systems that make this possible. This has happened to lawyers. This has happened to doctors. This has happened to the smartest people on the planet, okay? They have been bamboozled this way by people. So please, forgive yourself. You don't have to feel guilty or stupid that this happened to you, if that did, okay? I'm telling you. It's a fact, okay? So you can just go ahead and absolve yourself of that guilt because you don't deserve it. And you're not stupid or pathetic. Everything that happened to you in this type of a situation was something about that person. That person should feel very guilty. They probably don't. Who knows? I don't know their situation, but most times they don't. You should not feel guilty at all. And you should not feel stupid. Because you're not stupid. That's on period. 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 Okay? I love you. Okay. The moment they feel you kind of giving up, because, you know, they're putting you through hell, they will wait till that very last minute where you're just about to be like,
I can't. I give up.
And then they will pull you back in. They will pull you back in and they will give you just enough to get you reattached. So they'll go through this often in the devaluation stage. They'll treat you like crap all the time. And then you'll beg and beg and beg for that smallest bit of love and attention. And then when you're just about to give in and give up and just completely be exhausted with it, they'll give you a little bit of it. It's breadcrumbing. It's intermittent reinforcement. So you'll never know when it's coming. You'll have almost given up and think that it's just never going to show up again. And then, bam. They'll be so nice to you one night. They'll be that freaking dreamboat that you fell in love with in the beginning that you've missed so bad. That you think is the love of your freaking life. And he'll show back up or she'll show back up. And you'll have one beautiful night with them again. And you'll go, oh, everything's going to be okay now. Everything's better now. They realized it. They finally got past it. We're okay. We're going to be okay. We're in love. I knew it. I knew he loved me. I knew she loved me. You're going to wake up in the morning, and to your horror, the monster is back. Full force, okay? And then this is just going to cycle for as long as you're willing to put up with it. Let me tell you, okay? That's how long it's going to last. Or until they get tired of you and discard you. But like, usually, they're more than happy to toy with you for as long as you will let them. So let me tell you something. Unless you have a substance abuse problem and you often have blackout periods that keeps you from being very conscious about things that are happening in front of you, or you're not in your right mind at times, you're separated from reality somehow. Maybe you have amnesia. I don't know. Maybe you're walking around in a temporary coma. Something like that. Possibly suffering a psychotic break. But otherwise, there would never be any warranted reason for a person to treat you this way that they do in the devaluation stage that you wouldn't be well aware of. There's no way, okay? Because it would be something very, very appalling that you would have had to have done to warrant the way they treat you in this stage, okay? And then I don't even know if it's warranted. But I'm talking like, so maybe, for example, like if you burned their house down. Oh my God! Maybe. Or maybe you unalived someone in their family. That could put somebody off pretty badly. Or like maybe you alleged false criminal accusations against them. Ruined their reputation, got them fired from their career that they've worked at for many, many, many years and built themselves up from the ground up. Maybe you got them arrested. Maybe you emptied their life savings and spent all the money. You know, something like that. Okay? But if you're completely baffled as to why this person suddenly switches on you like this, you can be certain that this is not a you problem. And that this is happening as a manipulative and controlling tactic. And there's nothing that you did that could have warranted this. The switch that takes place, you want to really be aware of it. If that happens to you, you thought you were in this great relationship, and then boom, they make this dramatic of a switch, it's likely that you were being love bombed, okay? And hopefully, since you know this, you will recognize it when it first begins, so you don't get hooked like that. So the longer you stay in this type of a relationship, every single day that you stay, the exponentially more pain you're going to go through getting out of that relationship eventually one day, because you're going to have to do that someday. I mean, unless you're going to live the rest of your life coping with how to live with a person like this, which is pure hell sometimes, pure hell, then you're going to hit the end of the road. And like the longer you put that off, the more pain, the more recovery time. You just do not want any part of that. If someone does this to you, cut your losses. It might hurt at that stage, but it's going to hurt 20,000 times more in the future. So just promise. I promise you. I wish if I could do anything differently, that first sign I saw of it, I would have been like, peace out. Just like so much suffering I could have avoided. So if I can help anybody to recognize this when it happens, and just please, please. So let's take the case of maybe a less dramatic scenario where it's not a full-blown character disturbance or narcissistic situation or toxic person, maybe to the core. This red flag is addressing also when someone's in a relationship with you and suddenly, they just stop doing something that was very kind and courteous and thoughtful that they had been doing from day one. And I'm like, we're presenting as like, this is who I am, this is how I am. And they just like suddenly pull away or stop doing that without any explanation, okay? That would be in this category as well. In that scenario, they actually could very well be upset about something that you did or the way they perceived something that you did, and that's likely the case if it's not a character disturbance, which this probably could be as well to a low degree, but whatever, we don't need to get into that. They could just be being completely unreasonable and like misreading things and just not. This is a form of passive aggressiveness, so it could still fit into the top category, but this is like a very specific one where they completely change their behavior about something that should really ring some bells in your head, some like alarm bells, okay? So if they are continuing the relationship with you, but they're changing this and kind of like treating you less respectfully or chivalrously, or they're just not putting that courtesy effort in, and you notice it seems very intentional and like a very quick shift, it's likely that they're doing this out of some need to send a message passive aggressively and to punish you in a way to say,
you had my kindness and I was doing all this for you. You did something that made me feel like you need to see that like you don't deserve that now. And I'm going to teach you a lesson, and I'm going to teach you to appreciate me.
And that could be it. Maybe they don't feel appreciated for like those things that they do or something. But then in this situation, you would want to evaluate, like, did you do anything? Because this is passive aggressive. So it would be concerning that they didn't just bring it up with you instead, that they went about it this way. But maybe they just need a little push in that direction to understand like how to better address things. And some people, they're right there on that cusp and they can get that. But so, check in with yourself and be like,
did I take them for granted? Was I just not appreciative? Did I do anything that could have spawned this?
And then talk to them about it. But either way, it's a bit childish, and it's just not being able to address your emotions and handle conflict. So it's still a red flag. And typically, it's not most often the case that it's just a little like, They just need a little boost. Not usually. Like most cases that I've seen, or in my own relationship, it was a subtle beginning of a much larger red flag of using punishing behaviors and of constantly seeing me as not doing anything for them, overlooking what I give, minimizing what I do, while putting what they do on this grand scale that should just be so appreciated, when this was an illusion in their mind. And this was their grandiosity and their entitlement and also their insecurity and their control. So that's why this is a red flag, because more often than not, it will be a concern. It will be a concerning behavior that goes deeper. So for example, in one of my relationships, he was moderately chivalrous in every situation from day one. And I hadn't really been used to that. I didn't have a lot of experiences in general with dating, but then I didn't ever have somebody that was serious about me and we were going to date and they were just treating me with some chivalry. I hadn't experienced that. So it was nice. And I loved that about him. I thought he was a very respectable, honorable man. That was just one of the signs at first that I really picked up on, and I was like, wow, this is like the type of guy you want to show off to your parents and stuff like that. It's just great. I loved it. And he was just so considerate, and he would think of things before I didn't even need to tell him. He would just think of me. But then very abruptly, it stopped with no explanation as to why. And I didn't get an explanation as to why directly for quite a long time, as it continued to not be a thing anymore. And I was very confused. And exactly what I previously described is kind of the mode I went into. I would come over to his house multiple times a week, and on the street that he lived on, there was always a lot of people parked. There would almost never be a parking spot available on the street, just by chance when I would get there. And his driveway was typically filled with his car, and then he had two roommates. They were a couple. and they both had cars. So it was the three of the cars in the driveway. So one thing he would do just automatically was he would take his car and he would go park somewhere down the street in a spot that, or if he saw a spot freed up nearby, he would go take that spot when he saw it, if he knew I was coming over later, or he would just go park and then walk back before I ever got there. So then there would be a free spot in the driveway for me. Because typically when I would come over, I would have a lot of stuff with me. I would have to walk blocks to get back to his house if I just parked far away. So it was very thoughtful. I was like, thank you. You know, I wouldn't know anything about that. And the type of person I am, I would just deal with it. I wouldn't ask for that to be any different. This act was very thoughtful. I definitely appreciated it. And I definitely let him know that all the time, probably too much. And in the beginning, he used to tell everyone, actually, he used to point out about how I always say thank you. And like how it was kind of interesting looking back now. And it's funny that he wouldn't remember these things. But in the beginning, he was so cognizant of my every thank you and all my appreciation and how just loving I was and how attentive I was and how giving I was and how kind I was. He made it seem like it's not that common for somebody to just say thank you when something nice is done for them. And obviously I always said thank you. And so he would really boost this up and really brag about this to his friends in front of me. So I thought I was doing a pretty good job of being grateful and appreciative. So it was very interesting how not too much later into the relationship, when he started only having bad things to say about me, that a common complaint of his was that I don't appreciate him. I never changed my appreciation level. There was no shortage of me appreciating him. If anything, I was over appreciative, and I would point out things. I'm just a grateful person, so I like to make people feel good about themselves, and I like to let them know that they're making me happy for the very smallest things. So I would be more the type that would really hunt to find something to be appreciative for. So it's like he picked the wrong one and he picked the wrong claim. When we would come over to his house, he was always spending time on the back patio by his pool. I would text him when I arrived. He'd greet me at the gate, give me lots of affection, and be super sweet, happy to see me, and then bring me back with him to the patio. So that was our routine always. This wasn't one-sided, like I said, which was one reason he tried to claim later as his justification for this stopping, amongst many other random claims that he made. But I came to his house almost 100% of the time. I think he came to my house all of maybe 3-4 times in the entire time we were dating. And it was a 30 to 40 minute drive between the two places. So I was making that drive constantly. And I was a single mother, so I had to always get something worked out for my children. It wasn't the easiest thing to do. At times, even by this time, even though my kids were a bit older, they still need their mom around. They're still children. So my oldest was 18 maybe, I think, 17, 18. And my youngest was around, I want to say 8, 9, maybe 9. So the younger one definitely still needs mom. And so me going over there a lot would just be excessive. I just didn't always have all the time in the world to be able to do that. But I wanted to see him. And like I said, people pleasing. This was one way I did that. It's it was not actually good for my life and my setup to be doing that all the time. I probably should have said,
I can't do that because I'm a mom and I need to be home for my kids most nights. That's not feasible for me.
But I did it most of the time. I made it happen. Pushing the envelope, pushing past my self-consideration and my own responsibilities and my own things that would probably be a lot more convenient and right for me, and just making it seem like I was available and I could just come do that. I did that happily, thinking that he was aware that that was a sacrifice for me, as I communicated a lot of these things, not really pushed it and hammered it home and made it a big deal, but I was thinking with my people-pleasing brain that he was putting 2 and 2 together, and he could obviously see that was a sacrifice and a hard thing for me to do, and that he'd be willing to do the same if he needed to see me. That was not the case. Okay, we found that out later. I also would try to buy him little thoughtful surprise gifts. I wasn't someone who had a lot of extra money. As I said, I've always been a struggling, working, single mother, trying to make it in a very high cost of living city. So I didn't just have random amounts of money to be spending, and even so, I've always been more of a thoughtful gift giver than a high dollar amount gift giver or like a lavish spender because I don't have the funds to do that. So my gifts would be more, there would be a lot put into them, a lot of thought. It was very thoughtful. It might not be a high dollar amount, but it would be something that I picked up on that you really needed, or I made it special to something we talked about. He liked a particular rapper from the past, so I made him art with that rapper in it. And lots of times, because I had an art business, and I could do really like nice like resin art pieces for the wall, and I would make many of those for him, different kinds. So I was always thinking of him. The first gift I ever brought him was a little like mosquito zapper, fly zapper thing, because he was out back by a pool all the time, and we were just getting attacked by flies and mosquitoes, and he was like always complaining about that, and I knew it was a concern for him. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get him a little zapper because it'll be so much easier. He could just sit there and do that. He'll love it. And I wanted to show him that I appreciated the kind gestures he was doing for me. Like sometimes he would have wine for me. Sometimes he would give me some food. I feel like it was a very nice balance of give and take. And I was very much aware of the things he was doing. Come to find out, when all of this switched up, he was not so aware of the things I was doing as much as I thought. He was not. He was not aware of them at all. In his mind, he was giving. And I was doing nothing. I was just taking. I would try to cook for him sometimes. I would buy food and bring it over and cook for him and share with his roommates and him. And, he seemed like he would say thank you and this is good. But there was never any big deal made out of it, which I didn't mind. As long as he was enjoying it, that's all I wanted. But then I would notice that everything he would do, like over time, he started to really like point it out. Like pick at it, make it a big deal. Like keep repeating.
Wow. I did this for you.
Like just for no reason. And I would be like,
Yeah, you did. Thank you. I'm so happy.
he would be like,
Yeah, it must be nice, huh? You got a great boyfriend.
and I would just be like,
Yeah, I do. I love you.
I thought it was just jokes and just banter, whatever. But it was weird. One of the most jarring moments in our relationship that just stands out and will never leave my head. He used to say to me a lot,
You're so lucky to have me.
I heard that phrase constantly. And there was a particular time, probably about a year or so into our relationship, where he said,
You're so lucky to have me.
and I was just trying to kind of laugh it off. I mean, it was awkward. Usually people are telling you that they're so lucky to have you. It's not typical that you hear somebody constantly telling you that you're so lucky to have them. But he did. And so awkwardly, I would just be like,
Yeah, of course. I'm so lucky to have you. Like, I know that. I love you. I'm so happy.
and then I would say,
Why aren't you lucky to have me too?
and he literally said to me,
Exactly what am I supposed to feel lucky about, Alyssa?
when I gave him the fly zapper, it was odd as well. I brought it to him. I said,
I have a surprise for you. And
I gave it to him, and he kind of just looked at it, and he put it inside, and he didn't open it. He didn't open the gift. And when I give a gift, I'm like dying to see your reaction. I want to see you be very happy and surprised. So just like, are you
can I open your gift?
I'm like antsy at this point. And then he's just like avoiding the topic, and he's like,
Oh, yeah. I'll open it later.
and I'm just like,
You don't want to know what it is? Hello?
and he would not engage it. And he just wanted to be off of that topic completely. He was just not interested in having that conversation, and he was just avoiding it. And I was like I was so confused about that. And I asked him about it a lot until I finally got an answer. The best answer he would ever give me was,
I don't really like to receive gifts.
and I was just like, okay, that seems like there's a deeper thing there. But like I wasn't going to pry. And also I was going to respect what was right for him. I didn't do that anymore for a while. And I just figured that's like not, his love language or whatever. And so it was very interesting to me when he decided to voice why he was changing up on me, being that he does so much for me, like buys me wine and gives his time to me by offering his time when I come to his house. And that he, I guess, I mean, I don't know what else he thought. He just thought everything he did, like the fact that he even entertained me was just, wow, why are you not on your knees just kissing my feet, basically? And he would be like,
What do you ever do for me? What do you ever give to me?
and I was just like, whoa, first of all. And then I would start telling him, and he would just want to blow past that information. And then he would just continue on whatever he was already saying. So I could not see no matter what I offered up. I could say,
I bought you a palace. I bought you a Ferrari.
you know, and he would just be like,
Yeah, it's, sorry, but there's just no reciprocation.
and I would just be like, what? What? There was just no reasoning with him. He quite literally was blind to anything I did. It was like I did absolutely nothing. I mean, that was the story he told, and that was his narrative, and that's what he stuck to. And he unfortunately used that as justification to switch up his behavior and continue to treat me badly a lot of the time. I mean, a lot of the time. Past once this started, like in, month maybe 3, 4, somewhere around there. Like the little bits of it. And then just, it never stopped. The rest of our relationship, I was desperately trying to figure out why he was so disillusioned and why he was so blind, and explain to him how he was factually incorrect. Like, just desperate to get him to see the truth. When he knew the truth all along. Don't do this to yourself. Do not do that. Okay? Trust yourself. Anyways, back to the car parking story. I would arrive at his house, and suddenly, at some point, there was a time where I arrived and his car was still in the driveway. And so I called him or I texted him or something, and I was just like,
hey, what should I do about parking? I don't see anything out here.
And then his response was something to the effect of,
On the street.
basically
Like, oh yeah, find parking on the street.
and I'm like,
Okay.
which, like I said, in the beginning, I probably would have just accepted that that was how it worked at his house and had no problem with it and just put up with it. But it was the stark difference in the behavior, and then just not acknowledging that that had changed. It's so, it throws you for a loop. You're just like, what the heck? Like, this was something you adamantly did all the time, and I loved it, and I thanked you, and I didn't do anything, and we didn't have a fight, and I don't even know what this is about, and you're not saying what it's about. You're just doing it and acting like there's nothing happening. So it was just weird and confusing, but I went and parked. It was dark. I had to walk in heels and carrying multiple things in my arms, and I had to walk many blocks because I couldn't find parking. Even though it took me a really long time to then get to the house, he hadn't called and been like, are you okay? Didn't check on me, nothing, like wasn't concerned at all. And so when I got finally back to the front of the house, with all my crap in my hands, I get my phone out to text and call him or whatever to let him know I'm back out front. Normally he's going to come out to the gate, right? So I text him, no answer. So I wait and I call him, no answer.
Your call has been forwarded to...
I say, okay, well, I'm outside. I don't know if I should just come on back or if you're going to respond. And I just waited. And after, a good 5-10 minutes, I still don't have an answer. And I'm just like, I can hear people in the back patio. I can hear his voice and his laugh. I was thinking maybe he just doesn't have the phone. I'm not the type to pick away at something like that when it just happens one time. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I won't say anything actually until it happens many times. Then I'll be like, okay, this is getting crazy. This is really inconveniencing me. But I wasn't going to say anything. So I didn't know what to do. Sometimes his friends, when we're hanging out, they just come right through the gate. I had never done that before. So I was just thinking okay, I don't know if I should, but I'm going to. So I just went through the gate. When I came around the corner and saw him, he was mid-laughter about something with his friends that were there. And as soon as his eyes locked into mine when he saw me, it was like he was mid-laugh and then he was just like... And I was like, oh, I didn't like that. He had never reacted to me like that before. And so when I walk back there and I'm not comfortable that I'm coming through the gate without him opening it for me, and he's not expecting me to walk through the gate, and I'm just so uncomfortable, and then he's looking at me like that, and these people are here that I don't know really, and I'm just like,
I'm sorry, I tried to call you.
and I probably just sounded like I was just such a shy, timid little mouse, and he was just like,
What's up? Hey, it's fine.
So little personality to it. It was like a totally different person, and I had not seen that before in him. So I was really concerned with that behavior. and embarrassed a little bit because, like I said, I have social anxiety, and I mean, it was very palpable to me, the way he was reacting to me, and I didn't know if other people could tell. It wasn't like I needed an apology or was going to make a big deal out of it, like I said, but the fact that he just looked at me kind of like flustered and didn't offer up any type of like oh my bad, I didn't hear the phone, or any type of explanation as to why his phone wasn't nearby him. And then to make matters worse, I looked down right in front of him on the table where he was sitting, and his phone that I was calling and texting was right there, face up in front of him. So I felt like something was really up, and in my discomfort and my bit of embarrassment, I tried to play it off, and I just like went over to him and tried to save face and kind of like acted all like giddy and excited and was like, "Hi, I'm so happy to see you." And I gave him a hug, even though he was just like stayed sitting down. He always would raise up to greet me. He knew the behaviors to do, to be courteous. He had displayed that in every way up to then, but he wasn't doing any of that. And I had no clue as to why. I don't think that night he ever told me why. I think eventually he kind of warmed up to me and then started acting normal. And then I just wanted to forget it. That's all I want. I don't like drama. From that day forward, he never helped me with parking ever again. He also never came to the gate again. He just let me find my way back. He often did not raise to greet me anymore.
Why?
Or even hug me when I got there or anything.
Why?
That was over. That never really started back up. He became difficult to engage in conversation with more and more as time went by. It just kind of went downhill from there. These were just like the very beginning little things that, looking back, are pretty big things when you look at them all together. And he used to have me over 3 and 4 times a week, like I said. That dwindled down to, weeks would go by, and he would continuously make excuses for why he was too tired or he couldn't get together. I thought he was gonna fizzle out on me for a bit. I really did. So this was the first person, though, that I was like head over heels for. I loved what we had going on, and I was really scared to see it kind of seemingly start to dwindle and him losing interest, or what I thought was losing interest. And I thought this for a long time, and I was just desperate to bring it back. I was just like, no, I don't want to let this go. Like, please don't lose interest in me. Like, I'm interesting. What do you need? What is going on here? Because I thought we had something really strong and bonded. And I think looking back, if I could summarize it, he just pretty much breadcrumbed me. He would push me to a point where I would get so upset about it because he wasn't cooperating, and I thought I was losing him. And then he would shame me for my emotions and eventually give in at the very last minute, have me over and be really nice to me, and then the cycle would kind of start over. But it wasn't as common in the beginning. It wasn't like every single day or anything like that. There would be weeks that would go by that we were really good, and then maybe one week that we weren't. And then that just very slowly, steadily increased over time in our relationship to where there was just more bad than good. That was episode 2, red flag number 2, a sudden cease in polite and or thoughtful gestures. And I will see you likely tomorrow for number 3. We're going to keep banging them out. I'm going to try to have one out every single day. If at most, maybe 2 days will pass between episodes, but right now we're on track for 1 a day. So tomorrow, please don't forget to join me around 1 o'clock for episode number 3. I'll let you get a surprise about what that one's going to be when you get there, okay? So please join me. I love having you here. See you there. Bye.